Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here. My name is Bella Diarmid, and if you happen to be new here, this channel is devoted to spreading altruism. So if you are interested in volunteerism or service, this is the place for you. Feel free to hit the subscribe button and stick around. In this video, I will specifically be talking about my experience fostering and eventually adopting dogs who have a history of neglect and abuse. Specifically, what it means to foster, how I began fostering, my experience working with project dogs, some tips and tricks, and I will also be introducing you to Leta. She is my failed foster, which means she's a dog that I was supposed to just temporarily keep and help find a permanent home for, but I ended up falling in love with her and adopting her myself. So let's go ahead and get started. To start off, what in the world is fostering? To foster is to care temporarily for a dog until they find their forever home. It is the perfect way to experience life with a dog without the permanence and without the financial burden. Many shelters will cover your food cost, your veterinarian cost, and then they will also provide you with a cage, a leash, a collar, food and water bowls, all that jazz. Very, very helpful. Sorry, Leta's trying to come in frame. You wanna come over? Yeah, so this is Leta. She is my failed foster, which means that I was not meant to keep her, but I kind of fell in love with her, and she was gifted to me for my 19th birthday, but we'll talk more about her later. Back to fostering. If you are interested in getting involved in fostering, or you're looking for some other dog-related volunteer opportunities, I made another video last week that talks specifically about fostering, volunteering on site at shelters. I also include some different at-home activities that you can do during COVID. And as a bonus, I also included a larger event that you can put together that is COVID friendly. Yeah. Oh, there she goes. So I began fostering because my high school boyfriend's family actually ran an animal shelter out of their home. I started off just helping out at their Saturday adoption events, and I happened to invite my dad up to one of the events, and we left with a dog. Totally unexpected. My family has always been very, very firm in their stance that our family is not ready for a dog. So we've stuck with just dog sitting. All of our friends had dogs and stuff like that. But I invited him up to just literally one adoption event, and we left with a dog. So that dog is Star, and she kicks off my experience working with project dogs. Let's dive in. So I'm going to start off by just explaining what a project dog is. A project dog is a dog with major behavioral issues for one reason or another. The dogs that my family take in, they tend to come from puppy mills or neglectful homes, so their behavioral issues stem from abuse and neglect. Star is no exception to this. She came from a puppy mill. She was a former puppy mill mama. So before she came to us, she had never played outside. She had never been truly appreciated and loved by humans. After Star was adopted, we ended up taking in another dog named Miss Precious, who we later renamed Miss Keisha after this vine.
Miss Keisha. Miss Keisha. Miss Keisha. Oh my God, she dead.
So Miss Keisha was a really big challenge. She was also a former puppy mill mama, but she had suffered a lot more extensive abuse than Star. So after 3 months with her, she still was not comfortable letting us touch her. And what really helped was Baker. We named him Rookie Baker. Her brother was actually placed with us at the 3-month mark, and he greatly helped her progress. I don't think that he had experienced as much abuse because he was a lot more comfortable with us. He would let us touch him, and he was just friendly and playful. So he really helped her accelerate her progress because she saw, oh, I trust him and he trusts them, so I should trust them, maybe. But she definitely did start to come around. So 9 months after Baker joined us, we adopted the pair out to a couple who they actually were regulars at the gym that I work at. After Keisha and Baker, we ended up taking in our first non-project dog. Her name was Cassie, and she was absolutely adorable. She had the curliest hair and beautiful coloring. She was so smart, and we were so close to adopting her. But my mom wasn't super on board, so after I think 1 or 2 weeks with her, we ended up taking her into an adoption event, and within 20 minutes she was leaving with a really cute family. So Cassie was actually the very last dog that we brought to an adoption event and our last foster. because after Cassie, we ended up getting Leta, who is literally, she's right down here. I'm cuddling with her as we speak. And I adopted her, obviously. So Cassie was our very last foster. So just be aware that a project dog is not an easy project. You have to be willing to commit your time and energy to this animal in order to help them progress to the point where they can be adopted. It's not easy. It is fun, it is rewarding, and you literally get to watch an animal learn to love again, but it's a lot. So be prepared. Okay, so now that I've gotten that out of the way, we can get into some functional tips and tricks. My very first one is going to be how to introduce your dog to your home. Now, if you have a non-project dog, just a normal, happy-go-lucky, friendly pup, then introducing your dog to your home is the perfect time to establish boundaries. So you're going to want to keep your dog on a leash and slowly walk them through room by room. And then if there are areas you don't want your dog to go into, set your boundaries right now while you have them on a leash and while they are being introduced to the home for the first time. So if there's an area you don't want your dog in, stand at the entryway, have your dog like on the other side of the entryway, and then you stand in the doorway. Block it with your body. If the dog tries to enter the space, block it with your body. Just claim that space as your own, and you have to be consistent with this. So if you ever see them in there, get them out, make sure you claim that space with your body and just block their entrance. So that is how you might introduce a non-project dog to the home. With project dogs, it's going to be entirely different because chances are they're not going to know how to work with a leash, and they're also going to be terrified of you. So with a project dog, when I am bringing them into my home for the first time, what I always do is just set up a space and let them explore their space slowly on their own accord. What typically happens is you're gonna have a crate and you set it up, you put some blankets inside, maybe a blanket on top just to make sure they feel like very, very secure. And then you introduce the dog to the cage. In my case, they usually are in the crate in the car, and then I just bring the crate inside, open the doors, and let them explore the area. With project dogs, you never really know if they're going to be potty trained and reliable, especially in those first few days because they're nervous. It's a new environment. They don't know what's going on. So we keep them in our computer room, which is off of our kitchen. So it has tiled floor, and there's also easy access to the backyard, so they can go to the bathroom. So it's two like medium-sized rooms that we block off. Not a bunch of space. They don't get too overwhelmed with the new environment, and the tile floor so we can easily clean up any accidents. But that is how we go about introducing dogs to our home, if they are a project dog or if they are a non-project dog. Next up, we have food and water. When your project dog gets to your home, it is a lot. It is very overwhelming, overstimulating. So those first 24 to 48 hours, their food and drinking habits are going to be concerning. Your goal is, in the first 12 hours you have them, make sure they drink. We just want to get a little water in there. And then over that next 24 hours, we want to try and get them to eat something. So if you get them, the first day you get them, sometime before they go to bed, you want to get them to drink a little bit of water. My number one tip for this is to pretend as though they have never drank water before. So I always get a little bit on my finger, put it right up to their little snout, and just have them lick it off your finger. And then slowly take your finger and put it closer and closer and closer to the water bowl. And then hopefully the goal is that they'll start drinking out of that water bowl. So that's how I go about water. Then with food, don't super focus on it until like the next morning. That's when I really start to try pushing that food. So you can try getting quality treats, like a little more expensive, but that quality meat and whatever else they put in it, it really makes a difference. And dogs are more likely to eat that. If you don't want to go that route, the route that I will typically go is to just get dry kibble or whatever the shelter provided me with. And I'll put it in a dog bowl and I'll put chicken broth in with it. So the chicken broth is going to hydrate the food so that they are getting some water along with it. So we're keeping them hydrated. And then it is also going to have sodium. So that will increase their sodium levels, which is very important because that is one of the big things that they're going to be missing that first little bit with you when they're not eating and they're not drinking. So I'm going to mix chicken broth in with it, get a little soggy, maybe heat it up a little. Worst comes to worst, we'll also add human meat to it, like maybe some lean chicken. Make sure there are no bones. Chicken bones will literally kill a dog. Very important to not give them chicken bones, but you can do chicken, basically any meats that you have around. Just try and keep them leaner, not too fatty, and watch the spices. Like if it's leftovers, you have some spicy rub chicken, wash it off and then give it to them. But those are my tips and tricks to help make sure that they're eating and drinking at appropriate times when you initially get them. So now that your dog has begun to eat and drink and is a little more settled into the space, it's time to start your bond with them. Now, the combination of you feeding and providing them water and then walking them is already going to give them a little bit of a bond, a little bit of a connection, because there's that dependency. But this is the tactic that I always use to really help them begin to get comfortable approaching you. So what I'll do is I'll set myself up in an area where they have more control. In our case, this is my backyard. Our dogs are allowed to run free. It's kind of their space. So I will go into the backyard and I will sit myself down with my back towards the backyard. So I'll sit maybe facing a wall or facing a fence, and I will begin talking to myself. Now, sometimes, well, actually, typically, I'll do my homework while I do this. I'll get an assigned book and I'll start reading out loud. And this will familiarize the dog with your voice. And eventually they'll just accept it as non-threatening. And then it is also going to give them all the power to approach you. They can attack you if they want, or they can just come and sniff your back. That's the goal. That is what we want. We want them to be comfortable coming up to sniff you and recognize your scent and be like, okay, this person isn't going to hurt me. They're just a harmless person who is trying to help me out. And if once you realize that the dog is like starting to get a little closer to you, starting to become like comfortable with sniffing you, what I usually do is I take my hand and I put it behind me, palm up, and I just rest it on the ground. And then typically they'll come up and they will sniff it. If you want to accelerate the process, you can put some food in your hand or scatter some food behind you to really encourage them getting closer and closer. But this really helps, in my experience, getting it to the point where you can touch them. Now, it takes a long time, but this is a really big step in my process of helping bond. So that would be my recommendation to help with bonding. And I just have one more after this. So my very, very last tip and trick for working with project dogs is to be able to read your dog's signals. Body language with dogs tells you so much. I ended up taking a class at PetSmart with Leta. It was a class for shy dogs and just helped with socialization. And one of the wonderful things that I learned is what the warning signals are. So I'll insert a little infographic thing here, but it's gonna lay out what are behaviors that show the dog is scared, but that it is an okay push outside of their comfort zone. And then as you build up, what are behaviors that are on the brink? Like your dog is almost shutting down, almost going to potentially become aggressive. And then the very, very top are behaviors that if you see this in your dog, you need to remove them from the situation immediately, because they're not going to learn anything. They're not going to expand their abilities at all. They are about to do some bad stuff. In some scenarios, this bad stuff qualifies as like actually becoming violent. In Leta's case, which I'm very fortunate about, she is a flight more than she is a fight dog. So this means that she is gonna try to escape the situation, and if she can't escape the situation, she will 100% shut down. This means that she is just gonna make herself as small as possible, not interact with anything in her environment, and just wait until she can get out of the situation. So I love this chart right here. I think that this is really, really, really big, because project dogs, if you do not handle them properly, it can become a liability. They can begin to lash out, and that is when you have to put a dog down. Working with project dogs, the goal is to save this dog from being euthanized, from being just discarded and not recognized as a true capable companion. Because all these dogs, they've been through so darn much and had such horrible experiences. Your job as their foster parent is to teach them to love again, teach them to have faith in humans. And it is very, very important to just take on that responsibility and understand some of these dogs do have aggressive habits and they will lash out. So to me, this tip right here is one of the most important. And just, it goes for all dog owners. Being able to read your dog's behavior and understand when to remove them from a situation, or when they are just, they're having their horizons expanded and they're being pushed out of their comfort zone appropriately. Knowing that difference could literally mean the difference between life and death for your dog. So please put the time and the energy into recognizing their body language and their signals. And that is my last tip. Next up, I'm gonna introduce you guys to Leta. So this is Leta. She is my failed foster. We have had her for about a year. Like, we got her in the month of December. I think it was like a little later, closer to Christmas. So it's not quite a year, but she has almost been with us for a full year. She's a German Shepherd Beagle mix from what we were able to gather on our Google searches. And she is about a year and a half, maybe 2 years old. So, some of Leta's favorite activities include playing with balls and playing in sand pits. We discovered this during quarantine while we walked through Forest Park's golf course trails. During quarantine, they ended up shutting down their golf courses, and it was like midsummer, the weather was beautiful, and the walking and biking paths in Forest Park were crowded because everyone was trying to get out of their house, and the only way to do that was to just like go outside to a park or something with friends. So Leta and I ended up exploring the different golf courses, and she always seemed to come back with a golf ball. Like, I don't know how it happened, but she'd just run up to me and be like, "Mom, look what I found." I know, I'm talking about you. And she loved the sand pits. My goodness, I'll insert a video here. Hi guys, so yesterday while we were at an elementary school soccer field, Leta found a soccer ball and was playing. Today we're on Forest Park's golf course, and Leta has found a golf ball and is now playing. So some of my favorite activities with Leta include napping. I have really bad anemia and have been working really hard on getting better at taking my supplements, but still a lot of work to be done. So there are stretches of times where I'll just be taking a nap every single day after I get off work. And she will usually curl up on the couch with me. I'll be the big spoon, she'll be the little spoon, and we'll nap together. So that is always fun. And then my other favorite thing is when we go to the park together. I have a few favorite parks that they're not super well traversed, so there's not a lot of people that are gonna come by. And I like them because they have nice shade for me to study under. So I'll set myself up with a blanket and then I'll let her run around. She has really good recall skills, which means when you call your dog back to you, she has really good recall skills, and she's pretty scared of strangers still. That's something that we're working on for sure, but in this case, it is very nice because if she sees a stranger while we're out, she will just come running back to me, and I don't have to worry about scaring the strangers or her having any bad reactions to them. Yeah, so those are some of my favorite activities. I have truly, truly been blessed. I am so thankful for her presence in my life. She helps me stay grounded. She helps me get outside, and I think she's leaving. There she goes. She helps me stay grounded. She helps me prioritize myself by just being active every day, spending some time in nature. And how can you not be happy when you're hanging out with someone that adorable? I know. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys learned something, anything. If you are to take anything from this video, I hope it is the little saying, adopt, don't shop. There's no reason to buy a dog from a breeder unless you have unless you have like really severe allergies. Totally understand that. But other than that, there aren't many good reasons to adopt a dog to buy a dog from a breeder when there are so many amazing, amazing, amazing dogs in shelters just like Leta. We just need you to give them a chance. So, happy fostering. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. I'm not going to give out my email. I was going to give out my email. I'm not going to give my email. Just throw a comment down below. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. Okay. Have a wonderful day. And I'll see you later.